What if the very hardship you've been trying to escape your entire life was the one thing perfectly designed to wake you up? Have you ever wondered why so many deeply aware, empathetic individuals seem to emerge from backgrounds of profound family struggle? If there's a benevolent intelligence to life, why place such sensitive souls into such challenging environments? The answer is not a cosmic error. The friction you endured was not a flaw in the design, it was the very mechanism of your awakening. The hardest ground forges the deepest roots that we often imagine spiritual growth happening in serene settings, quiet temples, peaceful retreats. And while these have value, the most transformative awakenings rarely occur in comfort. They are born in the fire of adversity. Think of a diamond. It begins as coal, subjected to immense pressure over eons. That pressure is not a punishment, it is the necessary condition for its brilliance to emerge. Your difficult family environment was your pressure. It created problems that conventional solutions couldn't fix. You couldn't simply follow the family script, because the script itself was flawed. This friction, this inability to conform, is where your consciousness first stirred. Let's consider another image. A seed buried in dark, compact earth. It doesn't sprout in a tidy, sunlit pot. It must push through heavy soil, navigate around stones, and reach for a light it cannot see. That struggle is what builds its resilience. People raised in consistently harmonious families often never develop this specific strength. They flow with the current, never needing to question its direction. But you? You had to learn to swim against a turbulent tide, and in doing so, you discovered you could swim. The core confusion a troubled family creates is about the nature of love itself. This, paradoxically, is your greatest catalyst. Most people inherit their definition of love without question. But when that inheritance is clearly broken, you are forced to ask, what is love, truly? You cannot trust the model you were given. You are compelled to look inward, to discover a love untarnished by control, conditions, or manipulation. This is not a journey chosen from a place of comfort, but one demanded by the failure of your outer world. Now, let's be unequivocally clear. This perspective does not minimize your pain. The suffering was real. The damage was legitimate. What you experienced was not acceptable. Understanding the purpose within the pain is not the same as endorsing the pain itself. Think of a mighty oak tree. It doesn't gain its strength on a windless plain. It becomes sturdy by resisting relentless winds, by anchoring deep to avoid being toppled. The wind is not its enemy, it is the very reason for its unshakable foundation. Your family was your wind. And you have grown roots of a depth that others can scarcely imagine. Observe those who had idyllic upbringings. Often, though not always, there can be a certain lack of depth, a difficulty in comprehending life's shadowy complexities. They live on the surface because they never had a reason to dive deeper. You, however, had the luxury of illusion stripped from you. You saw behind the curtain of social pretense, and while that was devastating, it gifted you a stark and priceless realism. Clarity is born where comfort ends. Here is a challenging but liberating truth. Your family's behavior was a symptom of a deeper wound, a pain passed down through generations like a heavy, unexamined inheritance. You were the culmination of that lineage of hurt. And you are the one who said, "This ends with me." You were not assigned this burden because you were weak, but because your soul's fabric was strong enough to bear the weight of breaking the chain. In this light, your family were not your villains, but your most difficult teachers. They were instructors in what not to become. By demonstrating the consequences of unconscious living, they forced you into consciousness. They presented you with a constant, difficult choice: repeat the pattern or create a new one. Most people live on autopilot, following inherited programming. You had to consciously choose your values, your behaviors, your very identity. That act of continuous, deliberate choosing is the essence of awakening. Do not mistake awakening for a state of perpetual bliss. That is merely spiritual bypassing. True awakening is the capacity to see with unflinching clarity. It is the understanding that their actions were never a reflection of your worth, but a projection of their own unmet pain and unloved parts. When this realization truly lands, the old anger can begin to soften, not because you are told to forgive, but because you finally understand the source of their turmoil. Does this mean you must reconcile? No. Does it mean you drop your boundaries? Absolutely not. Compassion and self-protection are not mutually exclusive. You can hold understanding for their journey while firmly choosing to protect your own peace. The truly awake person knows that setting a boundary is an act of love, for yourself. People from healthier backgrounds often struggle with this, feeling guilt for prioritizing their well-being. You learned this essential lesson early, that real love cannot exist without respect for the self. The most conscious people I have met almost universally navigated a challenging early life. The common thread is not the suffering itself, but the profound questioning that suffering ignites. When your outer world is senseless, you are driven inward. You are forced to ask, who am I beyond these roles? What is truly real? Your family dynamic pushed you to seek answers that those in comfortable lives may never feel the need to pursue. In turning inward, you discovered a self not defined by your past. And this leads to the final, most beautiful piece. Your awakening is not a solitary gift. In healing yourself, you heal your ancestral line. You transform the pain of generations. You become the solution to a problem you did not create. By choosing differently, you alter the future for those who will come after you. This is the ultimate purpose found in the pain. Your family was the darkness that compelled you to find your own unshakable light. They were the question that forced you to embody the answer. And that answer, that light you now carry, is a beacon for others. So yes, the struggle was a brutal gift. Not because the brutality was good, but because it forged a version of you that is authentic, resilient, and truly awake. You were placed in that exact situation not to be broken, but to become whole. Not to perpetuate a cycle, but to revolutionize it. If this perspective resonated and offered a new lens on your journey, please show the channel some support. A like on this video truly helps winds of thought reach other seekers like you. Thank you for watching.